yeah, these are people who are doing it professionally, but let's go to someone up here. Again, fingers. Putin's Kiss documentary where Oleg Kashin is.
In the middle.
They're gone. That's always happening when you are going to try to have some interaction.
Winfried, there in the middle.
Okay.
Row 3,
there's
I
one.
think.
Yes. What was your impression about Oleg? Because you've seen the movie.
Yeah, it was rather shocking what I saw, and from what I have seen about Oleg was that he was a very brave journalist who wasn't scared about, you know, he didn't have any intention of moderating his tone unless the violence he was exposed to, and I think that was very brave.
Thank you. Do you listen me? Thank you, but that movie is, I think, is very complimentary for me. Actually, every time I say this, Russia isn't especially dangerous for journalists. Russia, maybe it's dangerous for everyone, for not only journalists. You saw in that movie that my colleague Tikhon said when he was arrested during the opposition rally last May. Policemen who beat you, who arrest you, they don't ask your press card. They don't ask you, are you a journalist, are you a worker, are you a student? They beat you, they arrest you, and maybe after your colleagues and friends will get to know that you was a journalist when you would be killed. I think the main problem of Putin's Russia, not authoritarianism, not human rights. The main problem is the high level of violence. When Putin, by television, could say, we will beat them, we will kill them, people in front of television screen will think, it's possible, it's not prohibited. There is maybe no taboos now in Putin's Russia. I think it's directly Putin's politics to make Russia more archaic.
For those who haven't seen the documentary, maybe don't know your story, let's go to November 2010, right?
I prefer to not discuss that case because, yes, I was brutally attacked 3 years ago, and I used to be dead. It's a miracle that I'm alive now. But it was 3 years ago. During that times, it was another country. The president of that country was Dmitry Medvedev, who looked like new Gorbachev, who is ready to begin new perestroika. But 2 years ago, when Medvedev and Putin switched between themselves and Putin became president again, we understood that Medvedev was a Putin's puppet, and in Moscow there was some anti-Putin's demonstrations. After the demonstrations in the end of 2011, Russia became a really new country. You listened at that movie that there is a lot of new repressive laws. For example, today, some hours ago, a Russian government sent to parliament new law about license for journalists. And in some months, it will be impossible to be a journalist without ausweis from Putin's government. I think it's a new generation of censorship.
So it's even worse, or is it? What is the main reason you don't want to discuss and look back at something that happened 3 years ago? Because
I don't like
quite heavy. What happened?
I don't like to have speculation about this. I don't want to be that guy who was beaten 3 years ago. It's not good for me.
But you are.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Yes.
That's fact.
And you're still alive. That's a good thing.
But I'm a guy who writes a lot of good articles and pieces and books.
Yes.
And
so you left it behind you?
And forward. Yes. Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But it says something. It made quite an impression on someone who watched the movie. And that's maybe the reference for too many people.
I like that movie. First time I watched that movie in Amsterdam 2 years ago. And it was great because it was party theater, maybe you know, in the downtown.
Kaczynski, yes.
Yes, and there were a lot of people, and like in Hitchcock movie 2 months ago, I was on the foyer and I listened in the hall. It was fantastic. It's great to be movie star, but I wanted to be a journalist.
Yeah, is it something that bothers you a lot because you don't get beyond that point of what happened in 2010? It bothers you.
I see, but I was famous journalist and before, but after that case, people
you're the beaten one.
Yes.
Yes.
People in Europe and in America got know about me, and in Russian I named the state of my public activity. The state of my activity now is Rosyeblatorg. It's a calembour about trading of face in front of foreign people. It's funny, but it's not so interesting. It's better to write articles.
Okay. Let's talk about the environment for current media, for you as a journalist at this moment. We'll do this in a minute. Just look at a few quotes from colleagues of you.
Okay.
A lot of journalists don't like to tell things they see, they witness. They don't like to report things because of self-censorship. And I can't blame officials for that. Yes, very often officials are doing a bad, bloody work. Yes, officials support propagandists, not journalists. But many journalists simply are lazy to do their work, simply are scared to do their work.
It's the other reality on TV. And many people think that it's true. I saw it on TV.
Like first channel or second channel, it's not journalism, it's like propaganda.
So it's a very big problem because television is more powerful and more popular.
In the evening after job, they are turning on the TV, they see the shows about kitchens, they see the shows about love, they see bad movies, bad sitcoms, etc., etc. And they don't see shows about Russian politics.
De bad guys zijn bijvoorbeeld het Engelstalige door het Kremlin betaalde televisiekanaal Russia Today. Vroeger lieten die zien hoe mooi Rusland was. Nou, dat werkte niet helemaal, dus laten ze nu zien hoe slecht de rest van de wereld is. Dus dat zijn de mensen die oneerlijk vertellen wat er gebeurt, die de waarheid op een dusdanige manier vertekenen. Dat ja, als je al liegt over, ze liegen over hun verleden, je liegt over het heden, en dan komt het toch in de toekomst ook nooit meer goed.
When somebody asks about free press in Russia, they can answer, we have a free press in Russia, we have Echo Moskvy, or we have Novaya Gazeta, or we have REN TV. Of course we have free press. So it's a very strange situation, really.
Er is evengoed in Rusland onafhankelijke journalistiek. Alleen wat je veel vaker ziet is dat journalistiek gekleurd is. Aan de ene kant door de staatslijn, de PR-machine, de propagandamachine is heel erg gekleurd. Aan de andere kant hebben ze een hele sterke tegenbeweging die even goed gekleurd is. Er zijn kranten die handtekeningen verzamelen om te zorgen dat het parlement wordt ontzet. Ja, dat is ook een vorm van propaganda in die zin.
Mr. Kashin, I'm really curious. An evening like this, and on the freedom of press, could we do it like this in Moscow? Is it difficult to organize?
It's very easy to organize. You can spend little money, little time, and if you make only event in your Facebook and invite about 100 people will come and will listen. Because of the party in the little hall, in the club, in the restaurant, it isn't dangerous for Putin. But if you want to organize such party in the studio of television, it could be more difficult, it's true.
But we have cameras, and maybe this will be broadcasted online?
In Russia, if you have camera and if you publish the video in the web, it's easy like in Netherlands. But not Facebook, not YouTube is the #1 Russia's social network. I'm not sure that Netherlands people know that name, but #1 Russia's social network is ВКонтакте, about 70 million users.
We don't know that, no.
Yes, it's really #1 media resource in Russia. And 2 weeks ago, that media resource, that social network, was bought by Putin's friend from board of directors of Rosneft, because of if you have great media company, it would be bought by Putin's friends, even you don't want it. Because Putin should have all media under his control. Because he is baby of propaganda of 90s, he is baby of media of 90s, because he was created by television in 1999. He became a president in the end of 1999, but in the middle of that year, nobody knew about Putin in Russia. He was created by television, and he is sure that the television and now an internet is the main power in Russia. If you control the media, you will control all Russia.
But now he owns the biggest social network in Russia?
No, not him.
His friends? Okay.
Putin is a poor guy, but his friends, all his friends are richest people in Russia.
Okay, but they own the social network, so his influence is there.
Yes.
Can we still broadcast this evening on the network?
Today, in the beginning of May of 2013, it's possible, it's easy. But I'm not sure that it would be easy in the May of 2014. Because 1 year ago, the media in Russia were more free than now. 2 years ago, the freedom was fantastic. 10 years ago, it was space in comparison with our day.
Wow. And as Olaf just told in the movie, you said there are two parties who are both colored: the propaganda of the state, and then the opposition.
And anti-state propaganda. He is almost right, but I haven't exact answer for question. If the independent media became another side of conflict with the power, with the state, how can I be a boxer who fighting on the ring and commentator who commented the situation? Maybe it's impossible. I don't know.
Yeah, you tell me.
I prefer to be in my face because after closing 2 magazines in which I worked before, now I'm independent journalist and freelancer like Olaf, and I prefer to be one without opposition, without life, like a god maybe under the conflict. But it's difficult and it's almost impossible.
But there's very little people like Oleg in Russia. That's the problem, actually.
Okay.
That's what I try to say in the story. What you get is that because the propaganda from one side, the state propaganda, is so massive and so everywhere, you get the opponent who's boxing back as well, and the person who loses is always journalism.
The loner.
Yeah, it's always the loner.
Yeah. And do people see you as an activist, maybe, in Russia?
Excuse me?
Do people, the news consumers, see you as an activist or as an independent journalist?
I'm not sure, but I prefer the name without titles. I built my personal brand during the last 10 years, and yes. My dream is nobody will ask who is Mr. Kashin because of, Kashin is media institution.
Okay, but then maybe Olaf, you can tell me, are many journalists who are trying to be independent, are they placed in the camp of the opposition?
Not automatically. I mean, there is some freedom of movement in between being a reporter for a completely opposition newspaper or being a reporter at state television. But this movement is very hard. And it's also, I mean, it also comes down to very simple forms of salary. It's very hard to make a living as a journalist. It's hard to make a living as a journalist in the Netherlands. It's especially hard to make a living as a journalist in Russia, especially if you're independent. It's next to impossible.
But Olaf, what about completely opposition media, newspapers? Okay, Novaya Gazeta, but number 2, what?
No, I don't know.
I don't know too, because it's a myth about a lot of anti-Putin's newspapers or websites. And now these days, there is a very interesting situation in Russia. Since the beginning of this spring, the doors of state news agencies are opened from journalists from independent media. State agencies invites and headhunts independent journalists to work inside, to be a part of propaganda.
Are you?
And me too. And I said no.
Why?
It isn't journalism by default. It's propaganda because if you member of a crew of state company, I think you are a state official, not journalist.
Okay.
But I'm famous. I can now today I can make money by myself. Okay, but I understand my colleagues who have families, who have children, who haven't a lot of possibility to make money, and they are going to state agencies, even they in the mind against Putin. And now they have to go to work in propaganda agencies because they haven't choice.
Okay.
You can see exactly the same with foreign journalists in Russia. Most of the reporters of the Moscow Times, which used to be a very good newspaper, have left because there's no money there anymore. The paper's getting smaller and smaller.
And they're going to Russia Today.
They're going to Russia Today, or they go to the Moscow News, or any other of the English language organizations, which are all owned by RIA Novosti. You see the same with a lot of television journalists. It's very hard to, if you are a young, ambitious journalist, it's very hard to get a job in television. It's almost impossible, especially in the West. It's not that easy.
Wow.
But the doors are always open at Russia Today. There's a lot of possibilities. You can always work there. You can make a fantastic.
Like during the Second World War, there were a lot of papers. Soviet, Russian soldiers go to German camp.
There's work.
Hand hoch and.
Wow.
And you will be feed and in warm camera. And
but is it that bad that you can compare it with World War II?
It's the law of Godwin. In any discussion for
yes, there we are. We have a Godwin. Yeah.
We remember Second World War. I'm sorry.
Winfried, about maybe you can.
Yes, well, that matter of fighting for the good cause, making you maybe someone of the opposition or maybe an activist and a journalist at the same time. Gregory Shevedov, can I sit here, not in front of the camera? What are you actually? Are you a journalist or an activist?
I'm an editor. Editor, not journalist, not an activist.
Okay.
What's the main difference?
It's the main difference. I don't write stories, I edit stories. I travel to the regions, but not in a type of activist travel, not to organize meetings, but to check facts, find the new stories, find the new people to write about things going on in the Caucasus.
We journalists in Holland, we're in a very easy position. Of course, we don't have many human rights to fight for, only a little, incomparable with your situation. You're fighting for the good cause, human rights. Can you understand our question that it's something that it has to be separated, being activist and journalist?
Yes, I do, and at Caucasian Note, for example, we found a special section where activists can write. For example, they publish their blogs, and that's very interesting. Opinion from activists, that's something we welcome very much. For example, in the city of Astrakhan, we have a hunger strike, and one of our great activists, a woman which was running this hunger strike, was also doing a Twitter reporting for us how the hunger strike was going on. That is also type of materials we welcome very much. But when we do a hard news, for hard news we want not an activist but a journalist.
And it's clear, if you read it, it's clear when it's pamphlet journalism or when it's neutral journalistic.
Well, I don't know what is neutral. I also think a journalist should really be emotional, should really think, should have values, should really have a citizen position. I don't think neutrality exists at all. No one can be objective, but you can be balanced in reporting. You should ask different point of views. You should ask neutral point of views if they exist at all. You should look for third opinion, not only for opposite opinions of people who are fighting to each other. That's, I think, the task.
Misschien voor Olaf toch wel, maybe the question for you. Can you explain, because we have a completely different view on what is neutral journalism. Does Russia need neutral journalism?
I think everybody needs neutral journalism. There's nothing more.
I can be neutral journalist in Netherlands because No, nobody here. I have an interest in Netherlands, and I can be neutral here. And Oleg can be neutral in Russia because he is a guest and I'm a guest here. But if in your country is a problem with freedom of speech, with human rights, it's too difficult to be really with cold head.
Yeah. But do you see Gregory as an activist or as a journalist?
He is a manager. He is a human rights manager, and I think he do very important business for Russia, because Caucasus region, about which he makes website, is the locomotive of human rights violation of Russia. And if you won't get know what about Moscow in 2015, you can go to Chechnya today and you will see Russia of tomorrow.
Okay.
That's not a good perspective, I can tell you that.
Isn't.
Okay.
Iemand hier in de zaal? Zijn er mensen die over dit onderwerp iets te vragen hebben aan Oleg Kashin of Gregory Shvedov? Iemand? Ja, daarboven. Ik kom eraan. Zeg even wie je bent en je vraag.
Okay, I'm from Russia actually, and I study here. I want to ask you a question. Do you think there is a demand for neutral press? Because what I noticed while living and reading newspapers and all those different things is that a lot of people are either one side or another, either pro-Putin or opposition, and nobody wants to listen neither to each other nor to more or less neutral point of view. They're all fighting and in the end staying in their positions, and nothing really changes. So do you think there is a demand for it? Do you think that people would actually read the neutral newspaper?
Oleg.
I can answer. I have my own audience, about 50,000 people who read me in social networks, and I know that they not always mark in what newspaper I published my next article, and I think that people wanted to read my non-neutral articles. Maybe it could be better that I have 1 million audience, but I want to increase my audience, maybe.
That's by 2015 as well, I think. But what you say is very interesting, because I honestly feel that obviously there is a need for objective, unbiased information. It's just getting harder and harder. And if you try to imagine the opposite, imagine here in the Netherlands that we'd have 2 channels that only tell you bullshit every day, and that will tell you how fantastic our king is and how nicely he waved and how amazing everything was today, and that today he saved 5 children and that tomorrow he will save 50 children, that everything is perfect. Then you understand this is the kind of television that 143 million Russians watch every day. We here in the Netherlands have a privilege of saying, well, all our information is, why would you need neutral information? That's only because most of the people here in the country probably don't know what non-neutral information is. Imagine yourself every day from the 8 o'clock news or the 7:30 news, it's only the king, the king, the king, the king, the king, and then, I don't know, a baby seal was born in the zoo.
We have a question there.
Yes, I think we have something to comment.
Yes, I find it so interesting about Olaf, how he's talking about Russia, but at the same time I have the feeling he could say exactly the same about Holland. We also have had here the last couple of weeks the king, how fantastic he was, and how excellent the police deported 2 demonstrants from the central place, and it's the same over here. And who is financing basically Dutch television?
You?
Yeah, me, the taxpayer. It's state money, state control.
But is that true, Olaf?
I mean, I have not been in the Netherlands for a very long time, and I was back here exactly for Koninginnedag, for the whole celebration. And if you look at, I mean, giving my experience in, especially in Central Asian countries, also in Belarus, it does look a bit weird wow, are we really that much in love with our king? It's quite surprising. And if you, I did a mental game with a friend of mine. If you replace the portrait of the king and his pretty wife, if you replace it with the portrait of Alexander Lukashenko with the moustache, it would look completely ridiculous. But I mean, on the other hand, really, no, we're not. We live in a very, very free society. If you do not agree, come and visit me one day.
Anyone else? Yes, one more.
Yeah, I've been to Russia quite a few times. And the difference, I think, is people in Russia, they realize in what kind of society they live and they just deal with it, which is perfect. And here in Holland, we still...
No, they don't just deal with it. Come on.
What?
They just deal with it?
Deal with it. Yes. But in Holland, people think that they, like the wethouder,
Can I ask you a question? Because we do have some political programs, and there are many people with different views on it, and they're discussing matters, even the royal family, and people hate it publicly on television. Isn't that a big difference with Russia? I'm not sure. I don't live in Russia, but I do think so.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Okay, sorry. I'll do that later in the bar. No, but we do have discussion shows on television with different point of views, with different parties, right? Is that the big difference?
Comment on that one. At the moment of the visit of Putin, we have our Buitenhof program. And we got the big dissidents there in the program from Russia, like we have today here from Russia. I respect these guys very, very much. But our dissidents in Holland who are either killed, Theo van Gogh, either locked up in jail for 3 months, Micha Kat, or any other, or Erwin Lensing locked up for 1.5 years because he only threw a little thing to the couch of the Queen. They don't get any podium, neither here nor on television.
So who are we to comment? That's your point, right? Okay. Anyone else in the audience to comment on this? Okay, I'm jumping through the hall. Yeah, there. Who are you and your question?
Hi, I'm Manon. I was wondering, do you think that people in Russia are actually aware of the fact, or like most people in Russia are aware of the fact there is no such thing as independent media? Like the old babushkas living in the city far away, do they actually know that it's bullshit what they're...
Is this for Olaf or for
Yeah,
Oleg?
you can all comment on it.
I mean, especially there's a funny generation gap, especially the elderly, the really elderly. They know from way before that everything the television tells them is bullshit. I did a very funny experiment when I was writing a story about, I don't remember exactly what, but I wanted to, there were some demonstrations, it was a long time ago, there were some demonstrations in Moscow, and I was wondering whether people in Vladivostok had heard of it. And probably they didn't, because it was not broadcasted anywhere. So I found an old lady, I was thinking by myself, perfect, I'm going to ask her, she will never have heard of this whatsoever. So I said, hi, hello, how are you doing? I have a question for you, would you mind? Have you heard about these demonstrations in Moscow? I'm like, haha, of course not. She says, yes, it's disgusting, I saw it on YouTube. And I asked her, how did you use how? And she says, well, I have a grandson. He's 11 years old. He showed me on television how it
Because
works.
that was what I wanted to ask you. Doing research, how do you cope with propaganda and state-dominated television? I mean, how do you get your information?
It's maybe not a good thing to confess, but I mean, I work in television, but I don't have a television at home. I don't watch television.
Okay, maybe in your case that's a blessing in Russia.
Well, I mean, I could watch. I mean, the stuff I want to watch, which is mostly the channel my colleague here on the right is working for. I can watch it online. I can watch it on an iPhone, on an iPad, or on an Android, or even I don't know in which of my kind of ways. And the television, I mean. There's no sense in watching it. I mean, sometimes if he gives his annual speech, I watch it, yeah. But also you can watch it online.
His annual speech taking about 5 hours, 4 hours, 30 minutes. It's almost impossible to watch it. And this year, it was my first time when I switched television off during Putin's annual speech, before the end of the speech. Before the end, but after 4 hours of broadcasting. On fifth hour, I said myself, what for do I watch it? I shouldn't watch it and switch off. It was my first step to freedom, I think.
But I'm not saying that you're watching television to get your information, but how do you cope researching with all the propaganda in other ways, or the closed information circle?
I mean, Russia is a very hard nut to crack. It's hard to get information out, but for me, I mean, I think in any discussion we have about press freedom in Russia, we should make a very big difference between foreign journalists like me and Russian journalists like these two guys here on the table, because I can always leave. Yeah, if I don't like it anymore, if things go wrong, I book an airplane ticket and I'm gone.
You're out.
Also, thanks to their work, which is much more brave and heroic than mine, I mean, I talk with them. I read what they write. I reread what they discover, and that's the best way to get information. You get independent information via independent journalists.
And how do you deal with hoor and wederhoor, or the two sides of the argument?
Oh, that's amazing. You can actually call the FSB, the Russian Security Service, the successor of the KGB. And I did that a couple of times, which is completely ridiculous, but it's great fun. So when I started writing, like, I don't know, he was followed by the FSB. Then I called the FSB and said, hello, I'm a journalist from the Netherlands. They go like, whoa. Like, you hear a lot of lines being typed. I would like a comment. They said, no, we don't have a comment. I said, well, can you confirm whether this is true? I said, well, I can't confirm or deny it. I said, okay, can you give me your name? I said, no, I can't give you my name.
Let me interrupt you. Once in the little Russian city on the border with Estonia, I was standing in front of the state border and asked people who cross the border about the relation with Estonia. People from FSB came to me and asked me, who are you? I'm a journalist from Moscow. I'm a Russian journalist. And they said, you want to have interview with our chief? I said, no, I don't want. They said, excuse me, you want.
Okay, maybe.
It happens. No, but I mean, in terms of like, how do you check certain stories? I think what is important, and it's something we spoke about earlier today. It's not only a lot of people think journalism is a trade where you see what person A says, you see what person B says, and he says, well, you figure it out later. Like the weather. Like, oh, person A said it was a sunny day, person B said it was raining. Well, that was the news. Goodbye. It doesn't work like that. The only thing you have to actually do, other than the facts, are look out of the window to see what kind of weather it is yourself. You just have to step outside and see what kind of weather it was, and you know whether it is raining or it is a sunny day. And the same is with journalism. You have to go out. You have to go and feel how that works. You have to see.
Especially for a correspondent.
Of course.
But is it possible or easy in Russia to see what's happening?
It's never easy, but it's definitely possible.
Okay. Okay. Winfried, do you have any questions from the audience?
Ja, zijn er nog mensen in de zaal? Want er werden nog wat... there were some eyebrows raised a couple of times, and I heard some murmuring here and there. So I see someone... Yes, okay, you're closer, so that's better. Your name and your question, please.
Yes, I'm Herma, and I just want to talk about my own experience. I once was at the parliament, and we were there with the red carpet, and there were some journalists, you know, some were filming, some were taking pictures. And suddenly the police came and they arrested us all. And they arrested us. Yes, that was my point. I want to ask you, where do you think this happened? It happened in Holland.
You had a clue, and I'm ruining it.
Yes, you ruined it. But yes, that's what I want to say. It's just we are talking about Russia. I think it's very terrible what happened, you know. But here in Holland, we also got a serious problem.
Someone at the table respond to this. Well, Oleg, maybe respond to this, because there are two people in the audience, or Tikhon, who are saying, well, we aren't that good at all. This is Russia, it's bad, but we are bad as well. What do you want to say, Oleg?
I can tell you that's exactly the same thing our lovely president, Mr. Putin, does each time when he's getting the question about the situation in Russia. For example, during his last press conference in December 2012, he got many questions about problems in Russia, problems in Russia, and each time the answer was, well, very good question. You know, in America, and then... So, if now here we are discussing the real problems with freedom of speech, freedom of the press, problem with journalism in Russia. It is the one question. And we can discuss it deeply with some examples and some stories of Olaf, Oleg, and me. If we want to say, okay, guys, you are telling that the situation in Russia is bad, maybe, but in Netherlands, that's not I think that's not a constructive discussion. Of course, there are problems in, there are problems in the United States. There are problems in Canada. There are problems in France, in Netherlands, in I don't know, in Sweden. But now I think we're talking about Russia. No?
Okay, I have another question about Russia here in the audience.
Well, I'm very glad you said it, because that's what I'm really starting to get worked up because of the commands at the front. Comparing the situation in the Netherlands to the situation in Russia, I've never been to Russia. Let me make that really clear. But I think that's rather ignorant, and it's really, saying that Theo van Gogh didn't get a podium for his views is really, really ignorant. I mean, the guy made movies. He had an interview program on national television. I completely agree that there are some problems in the Netherlands, but comparing them to and putting them on the same level as the problems in Russia or anywhere else in the world, it just baffles me. I'm really glad that you said it.
Okay, let's not make this a discussion inside a discussion. We're not talking about Holland here, we're talking about Russia, but comparing is okay. We made that point, I think. There's a new guest at the table, Tikhon.
Exactly.
Maybe introduce him.
Tikhon, hi. I think there's a lot of discussion afterwards when we have drinks in the cafe next door. But for now, please tell us about your family company. And
that's not my family company. Okay, I will say
you and your brothers.
That's not
tell
my
us what
family
you
company. My name is Tikhon Dzyadko. I'm working for a radio station which name is Echo of Moscow. It is a radio station, I think, one of the independent radio stations in Russia, because we have the possibility to give the information from the both sides and the commentaries from the both sides, from for example, the opinions of government and the opinions of opposition. And also I'm working on the TV channel, which name is Dozhd, Rain TV, which is not my family company.
Unfortunately.
Or maybe fortunately, I don't know. We'll see.
So you are there with your two other brothers?
Yeah, it is a TV channel which is in internet and in the cable and satellites, how to say it?
Networks.
Networks, yeah. Thank you. And I have a show with my brothers, my two elder brothers, who are also the journalists. One of them is working for a newspaper which name is Vedomosti, and the other he is working for a journal which name is New Times. It's kind of more opposition journal than non-opposition journal. And also I have a show which name is Hard Days Nights. It's like a hard talk with some interesting guests. So that's it.
Okay. We have some footage from your show. Maybe we can watch it, and please do
Tikhon, Timofey, Philip. Dzyadko 3.
From Bolotny Square, the 6th of May 2012.
The day you were...
Sorry?
Sorry, the day of a big demonstration?
Yeah.
Against...
1 year ago.
1 year ago.
Okay.
It's 1 year ago, the day before, one day before Putin had his inauguration.
Before Putin's inauguration, and I think very important for a TV channel Dozhd, Rain TV, is that during these years we are trying, and I think we are good in it. We are trying to tell to our audience, to the people who are watching Dozhd, how the situation was on the Bolotny Square and how it is now. Now we have nearly 30 people, who is nearly 12 guys in jail after this aggression with the police. And state TV don't tell to their audience that the police made a provocation against the people who just wanted to make a manifestation. And we on our TV channel we're discussing on this topic, and we're telling how it was. So if you are talking about objective media, I think the main point is that you gave the whole information. That's how we're trying to do on the TV Dost.
And who's your audience?
That's not as easy to answer this question, because we even don't know how many people are watching Dost, because we have potentially 100 million people, because we are in a cable and satellite networks, but it's really hard to understand who is watching Dost. But
Olaf is, for example.
Well, first. Thank you.
But can you describe from our Dutch point of view?
Sure.
What's his?
What the channel is like? It's very interesting. It's very young. It's extremely young. Sometimes you have correspondents live on air for minutes who are 19, 20. Some of them.
The best.
And they are sometimes the best. That's true. No, it's very young. It's very playful. It's very enthusiastic. It's made with a lot of love. It's made with high standards, and it often doesn't reach those standards, which is quite funny.
In what way?
Well, it's not afraid to fail. It's not afraid to make a mistake and try again and do it better and keep doing that. And I mean, again, if we speak about, and we've spoken about how a lot of things are very bad in Russia, this is an example of something really amazing. We don't have a whole television station where loads of young people are working and doing their utmost best to create fantastic television. It's not there. We don't have it for some reason, which I don't understand. And you guys have it, and it's fun to watch. And I think if you watch it grow in a couple of years, it will be something quite amazing.
And by being funny. Is that a way of reaching new people, new audiences?
You know, the main slogan of TV Rain is "Don't be afraid to turn on your TV," because in the big
turn on or turn down your TV.
Turn on. Don't be afraid to watch the TV, because me and I know many friends in Moscow and St. Petersburg, in big cities, who don't watch the TV because that's just extremely boring. That's
like all of them.
That's not interesting. That's some sitcoms, some stupid shows, and the news are not interesting. And so when the owner of this TV channel decided to create this TV channel, the only reason was to make something interesting, something new, something absolutely truly, and something really young. So the audience of this TV channel, the main part of the audience, is the people who live in big cities, the people who the people of, I think, from 20 to 35, the people who have their jobs, the people who have possibility to go to Europe and the United States. So these are the people who are happy in their life with some social and economical questions, but they are not happy with the questions of civil rights and their rights to be the real citizen of their state. So that's why they're watching the news on Rain TV, just to know what is really happening in Russia.
And in one of your episodes, you had an important guest who is blocked from state television. I think we can watch it now. And can you comment on?
Yes, this is my brother Philip. With him we're making this show. And on the left you see Alexei Navalny, who is the leader of Russian opposition and who is banned on the Russian state TV. During last week, he's not banned because Russian TV are telling how he gets new how to say,
court cases.
Court cases. But he, for last 10 years, he didn't have a chance to give an interview on the first channel or on the second channel, state channel in Russia. And
so you invited him.
And so TV Rain, for him, it is, I think, almost unique TV station to be translated.
And by having him as a guest in your show, are people looking at you as an opposition channel or an opposition TV program?
No, you know, maybe some guys are looking at TV Rain like an opposition channel, but these guys are wrong, because there is a question: what is opposition media? Like you said about the weather. That you don't need one guy who is saying that it's a rainy day, other guy who is saying that it's not rainy day. I think you need them because you are saying you just need to open your window. But the problem is that everybody has their own eyes. For example, you and our friend in this hall. So to be objective, you need to give to your audience this point of view, and then your audience will decide which is more correct. Of course, if you have your own talk show, if you have your own story, when you will give to your audience your own thoughts. But first, you have to give two opinions. And the problem is that state TV gives only one opinion of Mr. Putin and Mr. Putin friends, let's say. And when Echo Moskvy radio station or TV Rain gives also the word to the opposition and to the guys who are not who have the different thoughts than Mr. Putin and his friends, some guys in Russia are saying, "Oh, okay, you are a television of opposition." That's not true.
No.
There's something, sorry, if I may, there's something very interesting. We've had this discussion for a very long time, and we often remember it. And it's a very interesting topic. What the conclusion I've reached after these long nights of discussions, usually in cafes, is that you can't apply rules you take from a free society into a non-free society. We have, in our media system, we have a certain set of rules. You cannot implement them one-to-one to a non-free society because the rules there are different. These guys make their own rules, and it's their country. They make the rules, they set the standard. And we can say whatever we think it is, but it's not that important.
No. And Oleg, you were describing or sketching a very dark scenario for the future. How do you see it, Tikhon? I mean, the internet is growing. How do you look in, let's say, 5 years ahead?
Internet is growing. It's sexy.
You know, I think, you know, on the 4th of December 2011, during the parliamentary elections in Russia, I was making an interview with some Ukrainian TV channel, and they asked me if it is possible that in Russia we will see some big manifestations and some big rallies. I said, "Oh no, of course not." The day after this interview, we had the first big manifestation, and then we have all this movement during during this winter. I'm telling this because it is absolutely impossible, I think, to say what will be in Russia in a month and in a year. But at the same time, of course, we see some trend in Russia. We see some movement, which is the very cruel reaction of the Russian government since the March 2012 when Mr. Putin was re-elected. We received some laws. We received some laws against the press. We received some laws against the internet, and of course the space, the free space in Russia is getting more little and more little every day. And of course now they've adopted a law. This is a law against the action against the. This is a law this is a law to protect kids from the bad information in the internet.
Okay.
And with that law,
that sounds scary.
Yeah, because with that law, if on your big website you have just only one page with, for example, some information about suicide, this is the reason to close your whole site.
Without decision of the court, yeah?
Yeah, without decision
So
of the court.
If there's a video on YouTube basically saying how to
kill yourself,
how to smoke a joint, this can be interpreted as being harmful to children, which it is actually, as a child of my time, and that can be a reason, an illegal reason for the Russian government to close down the whole of YouTube
Immediately.
The whole YouTube.
One button.
So,
but Oleg said, well, Tikhon is making his own rules. And do you think your own rules can bring freedom in press?
Actually, I'm not totally agree with all of. I think that this is.
I'll take it as a compliment. Start with.
I think it is impossible to look on Russia with the same way as you look on Netherlands or United States, because let's say in Russia we have a civil war. We have the war between between bad guys and between bad guys and the people who live in Russia. So when you are at war, you can be you can't leave, for example, for 100% to ethics of journalists, etc., etc. It's just impossible. For example, I had a big discussion with my friends, foreign correspondents in Moscow, during some rally in Moscow when I was arrested with my friends, on the manifestation where I was one of the guy. I wasn't a journalist there, and so I had a big discussion with foreign correspondents because they were telling that it's impossible to journalists to. It is prohibited to journalists to participate in the meetings. It is not okay to be a part of this protest movement. I'm not agree because I am a journalist, but at the same time I am the citizen of my country. I have my kids, I have my friends, and I don't want to be I don't want my country to be a part of some kind of dictator.
Macho.
Yeah. So these rules, which are in Russia, that's not the rule me or Oleg invented. That's Mr. Putin who are inventing the rules, and we are just trying not to follow them, because these rules are not okay.
But by not following the rules, you make your own.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, well.
No, it's a very interesting discussion. We've had this many times before. So, I mean, for me, and I think for most Dutch people, it sounds very strange that today you are a journalist covering a protest, and tomorrow you say, now I'm not a journalist anymore, I also want to protest.
I never covered the protest.
You were just covering the protest on the 6th.
No, I never covered the protest like a reporter. Here, yeah.
Okay. But I mean, for me, like, I can't separate my own my being
work,
from my profession. It's one thing. But then again, Russia is not my country. Yeah. I don't have my children there. I don't have. I mean, I love the country very much, but it's not mine to fight for.
If Tikhon will write about Netherlands, he will be like you in Russia. It's all right.
Exactly.
He will be neutral and.
So that's why.
Come over here and write about our country.
It will be very boring, I'm afraid, despite the opinion of some people. But I mean, this is a difference, and you can't apply our set of rules to such a country. They make the rules; it's their rules.
Winfried, I see people waving in the audience.
Oh, completely at the other side. Okay, I'm going again. I'll come and get you in the top. Everyone who wants to have a question. Yes, but I saw her first. One moment. Yes.
Hi, my name is Andy O'Rourke. I'm an American, but I study here in the Netherlands. I was just wondering if you could say a little bit about what the space for satire is within the Russian press. I don't really think that there's a very good media system in America, and a lot of people my age get their news from shows like The Daily Show or The Colbert Report, which have a satirical bent. And I was just wondering what the space for a program like that is in Russia, or if it exists at all.
I don't know, when was the last time you were watching Russian television you were laughing? It was not ironical?
I watched the show Furgant about Ukrainian peasants.
Yeah, there's one guy, he's a comedian, he does have a late night show. He's quite funny. He also invited me once to the show to talk about the Amsterdam Gay Pride, which just happened. And there was supposed to be a gay pride in Moscow as well, which of course the police, they beat them up. And they invited me to explain about it and how that looks like. So I said, of course, sure, that would be great. So I went there. It's all recorded. I meet the guy, I shake his hand, I sit on the couch, he tells me, so what happens in this? Well, it's fantastic. The Gay Pride in Amsterdam is something really amazing. If you want to come and visit, it's fantastic. Maybe you discover something about yourself. It's really cool. And he was shocked. We had a little argument on air, and then he said, okay, thank you very much. It was nice being your guest. And then I walked out, and there was a there was a production team of 8 people standing like this. And funny enough, and it was recorded 1 hour before it was supposed to go live. So I was watching it, of course. And the show starts. They had 3 guests, like this guest, another one, and Oleg from the Netherlands. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So first there was a guy who was telling something about his Porsche or about his Ferrari. And then there was somebody else, and then there was supposed to be me, and there was a guy saying, well, that's it all for today. So, I mean, Mr. Urgant is very funny, he's very smart, he's very clever, but fuck me, it has nothing to do with press freedom.
So no satire, right, on the television?
Yeah, satire. No, it's funny, but it's not. I mean, you have to be, even in satire, you have to be honest about something. There's something amazing about the Daily Show, about the Colbert Report, about lots of other stuff you see in the United States. That despite being haha and funny, there's a serious bottom in it, and you can actually criticize. And there's actually a lot of journalism involved. And here it's not.
I think the last show about some kind of
political satire.
I think the last show on political satire, it was in 2001. It was a show named Dolls on the TV channel NTV, on the ancient NTV before it was ruined and.
It's a copy of Spitting Image, basically.
Yeah. So, but it was 12 years ago.
And ever since it hasn't been funny.
Okay, another question here.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm from Italy, but I also study here. And I have a question for both Tikhon and Oleg, because what I've heard so far is mostly there are legal and economic constraints and platform constraints to doing good journalism, independent journalism in Russia. But how does this influence your daily life? Do you feel threatened? We heard a mention about the incident that happened to Oleg, but we didn't want to talk about it. But how does this influence your daily life? Do you feel afraid or scared at any time?
Convenience.
Это отражается на твоем...
Что это?
То, что ты журналист.
Okay. My daily life isn't so bad. I like it. I can sleep till the dinner, till the lunch, and some other. But to be a famous journalist, I had to sleep 4 hours a day, to write 5 articles a day during almost 10 years. And my happy that I began that in the end of 90s. If I would be a young journalist now in 2013, I think it would be impossible to be a journalist, or I became a mutant of journalism, because I'm sure that maybe in 1 year, in 2 years, it would be impossible to be journalist in Russia like in last years.
This gentleman has a question. Oh, Tikhon, you want to say something?
Actually, of course you're right that there are many problems with economical, etc., etc. And also we have the big problem, which is the impunity of the crimes against the journalists, but at the same time, we have the problem of the impunity of the crimes against the citizens of Russia, because our investigation system works only if they need to put somebody in the jail, like, for example, Alexei Navalny. So, of course, if you are thinking about 40 journalists killed in last years, it's not so funny. But in my life, and as I know in the life of my friends, I mean my colleagues, their journalism. No, I have no connection, no problems. We work like everybody else in country, so that's it.
But it's really 1 year ago, 2 years ago, it was more easy than today, and tomorrow I'm sure it would be more difficult than today.
Okay. This gentleman has another question.
First time I was in Russia was in '65 and '66 when I spent a week there. Later under Franco and under Marcos, I lived under 2 dictatorships. When I was in Russia, it was absolutely impossible in those days to talk to somebody without being somebody standing, looking and listening over your shoulder. A little bit more like North Korea now. Is there any chance of Russia going back towards this kind of restriction of freedom of expression of your mind, of anything?
Oleg?
I think there are many chances, and the way we are going is going to this point, because we have the atmosphere of absolute paranoia against America in Russia. We have the atmosphere of absolute paranoia against the foreigners in Russia, with this law against international foreign agents, and so on. Also, we have many examples of how secret services are listening to your phones and making footages of you. So, unfortunately, there are many chances that the situation will return to the situation of 65 or 67. But of course, we will hope that everything will be okay.
But the main difference between modern Russia and Soviet Union, imagine, it's 1952, Stalin is leader of Soviet Union, and in the downtown of Amsterdam there are a lot of NKVD KGB officers drinking whiskey, bought luxury, and some other. Soviet officials have accounts in European banks, have immobility in Europe.
The house in Miami.
Their children is studying in universities. It was impossible. But now all Putin's elite has money, houses, children in Europe, in America, and they afraid to build new Iron Curtain. They afraid it more than everybody in this hall. And I think it's impossible to rebuild Soviet Union like 50 years ago.
And that also means something for Europe as a whole. I mean, I'm amazed every time I go back to Amsterdam, but also other cities in Europe, how much Russian you hear in the street. And I think what we don't realize completely yet is that we we are attached to Europe. We are attached to Russia. Russia is not far away. It's only a 3-hour flight. And it's a 3-hour flight from Amsterdam to Moscow. But mind you, it's also a 3-hour flight from Moscow to Amsterdam. And it means we're going to be dealing with much more of Russians. We're going to be dealing with much more of Vladimir Putin right here in Amsterdam. It's going to be Russian money, which will affect you because it will be not only in Cyprus, but the second most popular destination for Russian money is the Netherlands. You will see it in a massive migration of people. There's a lot of people. If Russia will be the country you've described now, all these people will leave. Where will they go? Guess. They will come here, and I think that's. I think that's a wonderful thing because I'm very happy to speak a lot of Russian. But I think it's something we should anticipate on. It's something, for example, the European Union still hasn't figured out. We've tried for 10 years to make a gas policy towards Europe, and we still don't manage. Russians are coming.
Wow.
Okay, someone over here is or threatened or has a question. Okay? Yes.
Hi, my name is Natalia, and we've been talking about this very gloomy future for Russia and the press there. Let's suppose, I don't know, Putin has a heart attack while, fishing or hunting or doing all the main things that he does. Do you think that would help? What I'm trying to ask here... I'm trying to ask here is, how do you see change happening in this situation? How do you see things getting better? What would have to happen for that to
We didn't really get the question. So if Putin gets a heart attack?
Is it just Putin or is it the system? Maybe that's a problem. If you get rid of Putin, do you get rid of the problem we're posing here?
I think it is a system made by Putin. So it is a system which was made by Putin at the beginning of 2000s. And of course, if Putin, let's say, dies, the situations won't change in a second, and it won't change in a year or in 5 years. But of course, in this system, which is, let's say, this system is Putin. But in the center of this system, there is Vladimir Putin. So without him, this will be something else. I don't know what. Maybe this will be another Putin, or maybe not. But this will be something new and something interesting. So let's just imagine.
Tikhon is optimist, but I don't agree. I'm not agree with him. I think that when Putin will die, we will elect new super Putin and spend about 20 years with the new super Putin. But I hope that then the children and maybe grandchildren of Putin's gangsters graduate European universities, read a lot of interesting books and watch a lot of interesting movies. Maybe the grandsons of Igor Sechin, the main Putin's gangster, maybe they became new European people who made a democracy in Russia. Maybe, and maybe no. But I hope to live alone. It's useful to live to have a long life in Russia, and I hope to catch a little time for democracy in my old years.
Okay, here we are. We're a community of students, media professionals, and people who underline the freedom of press. But what can we do? Is there something we can do, or by supporting Russian journalism, or?
Lisbeth, maybe we can watch. There's an extra clip of that. Maybe we can watch it first. Okay. What's next?
Give the free press some room to play, but keep them away.
No, there's a yes. There it is.
Is internet an alternative for propaganda?
No.
We have two different Russia. Russia in television and Russia, for example, in internet.
Ze zijn meestal afhankelijk van wat de televisie vertelt, maar wil je toegang krijgen tot eerlijke, onafhankelijke informatie, moet je dat via internet doen.
We have internet, which is absolutely free now, and you can do and write whatever you want in the internet.
Internet is getting more and more popular in Russia.
There are 100 different websites of all kinds of political colors,
New are appearing every single day.
Er worden pogingen gedaan, maar er is op dit moment geen echte internetcensuur in Rusland.
You simply can take a website down. 10 new copies spring up in a matter of hours, or minutes, or seconds.
Nou, voor de gemiddelde Russische burger is internet geen vergelijking met hun belangrijkste informatiebron, want dat is nog steeds televisie. Maar het is wel zo dat heel veel propaganda doorgeprikt wordt op dat internet.
En de internetpenetratie in Rusland is heel groot en steeds groeiende. Rusland is de grootste internetmarkt in Europa op dit moment. Steeds meer mensen krijgen toegang tot internet.
De Russische televisie die op internet wordt uitgezonden, die is al ontzettend humoristisch, die is al ontzettend goed. Maar daar kijken alleen maar de mensen naar die dat weten en die dat willen weten. Dan gaat het natuurlijk om dat je de grote massa gaat bereiken en dat is onmogelijk op dit moment.
Not even 50% of Russians have access to the internet. Maybe it will be an alternative in 10 years or in 15 years when I hope each Russian house will be connected to the internet, but not now.
Is that an answer to the question on the future? I mean, I asked you earlier, is the growth of internet helpful by the freedom of the press?
It is, of course, helpful, but it's not the answer. I mean, you have television, you have newspapers, you have journals, you have you have a radio station, and then you are saying, okay, they're not free. Okay, we will go to the internet. That doesn't work like it. You
not now, maybe, but in the future.
No, I mean you have the freedom of the expression and the press, or you don't have the freedom of the expression. So, of course, internet is very important in Russia today. Of course, the quantity of people who are connected to the internet is rising every day, and of course that's why Russian government is trying to find some ways to censor the internet in Russia, but I think that internet will, if it will change a situation, it will change situation only in 5 or 10 years. But again, I don't think that situation could be good in internet and at the same time bad in other medias. That just can be true.
One moment.
Yeah.
I don't know who created that slogan, give the free press some room to play, but it's true. It was unlimited freedom of speech in internet until the moment, maybe after the beginning of protest against Putin, when Putin believed that internet is a playroom for children. And it was the historical chance for us, and I think we used that chance. But now Putin understood that internet is important, and I think he will spend next months to create real censorship in internet.
Okay.
It's like, you know, in Russia there is a proverb, something like that, that you can be almost pregnant. You're pregnant or you are not pregnant.
Okay, but can we do something? I mean, it's only a 3-hour flight. Can we do something to support the free press or the beginning of free
think
press?
Think about us, read about us, and write about us.
And pray for us.
And pray for us, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm asked this question very often, including by this organization that invited us here today. And I think there's a little a gap of mind where you have to understand that we, as a Dutch audience, or as Dutch journalists, we don't need to tell Russian journalists anything about censorship because they understand it much better than we do. We don't have to teach them the rules of journalism because A, they already know them, B, they make their own rules, as we just figured out. So what can we do? Exactly. The only thing, and I mentioned that before, is a dialogue. Let's keep in touch. Let's read each other. Let's stay in touch. The more people visit Russia, the happier I am. The more Russians visit Amsterdam, the happier I am in the end. There's nothing more important than a dialogue. But to actually do something, to send, I don't know, mobile phones to Russia because the journalists need to communicate better, or training kits. It's really.
Okay.
Gregory Shvedov wants to comment.
Well, I just have an answer to the question what might be done. I truly believe that there are a lot of people in this room who can do some specific thing. I believe it's half an hour a week, which everyone can devote. It's like 4 minutes a day for the different human interest stories, human rights type of stories, not only about Russia, but also about Russia. Think about 4 minutes a day you devote to the human rights stories. If you are on a Facebook, you can like them. If you are on a YouTube, you can comment them. If you are on some special website, you can also somehow react. People really need this attention, and we have numerous cases then attention, which is displayed somehow through comments, through likes, really helped particular people in a region, for example, in the Caucasus, in the region we work. So this reaction, this new type of opinions, just a very short type of opinions, in your likes, in your comments, they really can make a difference. And we do have these cases. And I won't slightly disagree on also technologies and on possible trainings. For example, for us, it's great to have cooperation, to see how we can get new technologies from the West, how we can improve. And that's why I believe it's not only dialogue which can be between us, but we can also build together, thinking what are mistakes you've done we want to avoid, what are our mistakes. I think we might develop together. The dialogue goes to something concrete. I believe a lot of things might be done. One of the best Russian newspapers is a newspaper of European involvement and bringing new practices, bringing new ideas, doing something together for the media space. That is something which can really improve, help, and deliver new type of stories.
Thank you.
So we should start reading your stories. Caucasian not like it, click it, spread it. It's a little bit of clicktivism, isn't it? New type of activism. Click and like. Okay, that's something else. Lisbeth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oleg, Tikhon, and Olaf, and Gregory, and the audience for your good questions. Thank you everyone involving in this evening. It was a very delight for us to host it. And we have an assignment, 4 minutes a day. We'll click and like. And let's have a toast and a drink to free, reliable news gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you.